Good afternoon. It's Monday, the 22nd of June. I'm Erin Viner, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. We open with the release of the report from the United Nations Human Rights Council just a short time ago into the 2014 Gaza conflict that accuses both Israel and the Palestinians of committing abuses that may amount to war crimes. The Commission maintains that substantial information it gathered points to serious breaches of international humanitarian and human rights law by both sides, although it would appear that the probe focused more on alleged Israeli violations. According to the UNHRC, civilian structures should be immune from attack, and there is little or no reason why residential buildings were considered as legitimate military targets, calling on Jerusalem for an explanation. The report also found that the IDF's roof-knocking technique of firing warning shots ahead of airstrikes to caution civilians cannot be considered an effective warning, given the confusion that they often caused and insufficient time to allow residents to evacuate ahead of the actual strike. Israel launched its offensive July 8th in response to heavy rocket fire into the south from Hamas and other terror groups. According to UN and Palestinian officials, hundreds of civilians were among the more than 2,200 Palestinians killed during the fighting, while 73 Israelis and civilians and soldiers died. Israeli officials have responded to the report by saying that it fails to recognize the profound difference between the IDF's moral behavior and the terror organizations that it was forced to confront. The government has ordered several heightened security measures to be implemented against West Bank Palestinians in the wake of 2 terror attacks within the past 3 days. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon have instructed defense officials to revoke travel permits for the residents of the Sa'ir village that is home to the assailant who critically injured a border policeman yesterday in a stabbing attack by the Damascus Gate into Jerusalem's Old City. Physicians report that his condition was upgraded to stable today and that he is out of immediate danger. Also being rescinded are 500 permits granted to Palestinians as a gesture of goodwill during the Muslim holiday of Ramadan to travel abroad from Ben Gurion International Airport. And Defense Minister Ya'alon says that additional security measures are under consideration. Visiting French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius today presented his nation's approach to Israeli-Palestinian peacemaking, saying that Paris is hoping to work together and not in competition with Washington. In other developments, a new ambassador from Egypt has been appointed, and there has been more friction with the United States from a former ambassador and the wife of a minister. Here with the latest is IBA's diplomatic correspondent Ellie Wogelenter.
We'll start with the visit of French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius, who met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last night at the end of a 36-hour visit that also took him to Cairo, Amman, and Ramallah. At a Jerusalem news conference, Fabius warned of the dangers of continued stalemate. The French Foreign Minister said that his plan has 3 logical components. The first is a return to negotiations, something he said that both Netanyahu and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, whom he met with earlier yesterday, had agreed to. The second component is the establishment of an international committee that will accompany the sides and help them get over the final hurdles of the negotiations, which have proved so difficult in the past. And the third component of the plan, and the one that has concerned Jerusalem the most over the last few months, would be some kind of UN Security Council resolution to anchor the process. Fabius was vague about the details of the resolution and added that Abbas agreed with him that there would be no purpose in bringing a resolution that would be either vetoed by the U.S. or not be implemented. Fabius did not give a clear answer when asked whether Palestinian recognition of Israel as a Jewish state would be included in the resolution, as Israel is demanding, saying this is a very difficult and complicated legal question and that a formula must be found. Netanyahu, however, was very clear on the issue.
Mutual recognition means that the Palestinians must finally recognize Israel as the nation state of the Jewish people. I find it, frankly, inconceivable that while the Palestinians expect us to recognize a Palestinian nation state, they refuse to accord us the same privilege, recognizing a Jewish nation state. And if they continue to refuse to recognize the legitimacy of the Jewish state, what kind of peace are they offering us?
Netanyahu welcomed Egypt's announcement that it had named Hazem Khairat as Egypt's next ambassador. Khairat, who previously served as Egypt's envoy to the Arab League and as ambassador to Chile, will replace Ataf Salam, who served in Israel only for a month in 2012 before being recalled after Israel launched Operation Pillar of Defense to combat rocket fire from Gaza. The move comes at a time of strong security cooperation between Israel and Egypt under President Abdel al-Sisi.
We've been informed by the government of Egypt that it is dispatching an ambassador to Israel. This is an important piece of news. We appreciate it. It's something that is deeply welcomed in Israel, and I think it's very good for cementing the peace that exists between Egypt and Israel.
The relationship between the United States and Israel, however, continues to fray around the edges. First, we have more comments from former ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren. The Anti-Defamation League slammed Oren yesterday for a number of, quote, unjustified and insensitive essays he published in U.S. media, one of which claimed that President Barack Obama's foreign policy may have been unduly influenced by his early upbringing, and that the abandonment of his mother's two Muslim husbands could lead him, many years later, to seek acceptance by their co-religionists. ADL National Director Abraham Foxman called on the American-born Knesset member to walk back his statement that the attack on the president and veer into the realm of conspiracy theories and with an element of amateur psychoanalysis. Oren's comments appeared ahead of the release tomorrow of his new book, Ally, on his navigating the Israel-U.S. relationship during his term as ambassador. And if Oren's words were not damaging enough during a period of animosity between the Israeli and American governments, a racist tweet by Judy Nir Moses Shalom, the media personality and wife of Vice Prime Minister and Interior Minister Silvan Shalom, has generated a wave of backlash on Twitter and the international media. Her tweet said, "Do you know what Obama coffee is? Black and weak." A short while later, she deleted the tweet and published an apology, writing, "I apologize, that was a stupid joke someone told me." She also addressed Obama directly, saying, "President Obama, I shouldn't have written the inappropriate joke I heard. I like people no matter about their race and religion." She then continued her apology in a more lighthearted tone, tweeting, "Sorry if I caused any offense to anyone. I hope I will stay married when my husband will land and hear what I did." Erin?
Thanks for that report. And in other news, Knesset member Basil Ghatas of the Joint Arab List has ignited a firestorm of condemnation across the political spectrum by announcing that he will participate in the next attempt to challenge the naval blockade of Gaza. Ghatas declared his intentions in a letter to Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Ya'alon, in which he also called on them to allow the boats to dock in Gaza as part of what he insisted will be a peaceful flotilla delivering humanitarian supplies and not one of violence. The Israeli Arab legislator is already in Greece, where he plans to set sail with a 3-vessel convoy expected to embark for the Hamas-controlled territory in the next few days. He further warned that if their efforts are thwarted by the Navy, there will be another diplomatic crisis, similar to the aftermath of the Mavi Marmara incident when 9 Turkish citizens were killed while attacking IDF commandos intercepting the 2010 flotilla that ruptured bilateral ties between Jerusalem and Ankara. Members of Knesset on both the left and right side of the aisle are condemning Ghatas' participation. And Israel Beitenu leader Avigdor Lieberman is alleging that the entire point of the MK's Joint Arab faction is simply to utilize democracy as a means to destroy the country. At this hour, a demonstration by Israelis of Ethiopian descent is about to begin at the Azrieli intersection in Tel Aviv. The community is protesting the decision of Attorney General Yehuda Weinstein not to press criminal charges against a policeman filmed striking Israeli-Ethiopian IDF soldier Damas Pakada. The decision followed an investigation that concluded that the soldier instigated the confrontation by first hitting the officer after ignoring his orders to leave an area that had been closed because of a suspicious object. The protesters say that they reject the Attorney General's finding that the circumstances don't warrant criminal prosecution of the officer and that there was no racial motivation behind his actions. Construction of the long-awaited subway in Tel Aviv is about to get underway this summer, and while officials say that it will one day be a blessing, the project is set to take at least 5 years to complete, during which time some residents of the metropolitan area of Gush Dan are concerned could result in traffic congestion and a loss of business. We get more from IBA's Aryeh O'Sullivan.
The nightmare begins this summer. This August, digging up the streets for 9 underground stations is set to begin simultaneously in downtown Tel Aviv and Ramat Gan. The traffic jams of today are going to pale compared to what will be then. The entire route of the light rail will be 24 kilometers, linking Bat Yam with Petach Tikva. 12 kilometers through Tel Aviv, Ramat Gan, and Bnei Brak will be underground, with 9 underground stations. The route will go from Allenby to Karlibach, Yehudit, Shaul HaMelech, Arlo Zarov, Abba Hillel Silver, Bialik, Ben Gurion, and Em Hamoshavot. The construction, which has been delayed numerous times over the past decade, is slated to take 6.5 years and use the cut and cover method, during which roads will be opened up and then covered over with decks so that they will be open to public transportation while digging goes on 30 meters beneath the streets. The Metropolitan Mass Transit System, or NETA, said today that they're boosting public transportation by 90 buses and operating park and drive from suburbs to downtown Tel Aviv. Some 3,500 parking places have already been paved, and shuttles will cost some 15 shekels. More trains will also be added, all this to reduce the number of vehicles venturing into the clogged city roads. Unlike Jerusalem, which had its main Jaffa Road shut during the entire building of the light rail, Tel Aviv will work to keep the streets open, at least for pedestrians and public transportation. This shopkeeper on Yehuda Halevi Street is afraid he'll not be able to make a living when construction begins and convoys of trucks stream in and out of the evacuation pits down to the subway tunnels before his shop. He knows that the project will make life easier in the future, but he says he and other shop owners along the route are planning to close. NETA officials said that the project's tunnel boring machines cut about 20 meters a day, and there were 8 machines to be deployed simultaneously to try to meet the deadline, which they said was 2020, or 2021, or 2022. Ari O'Sullivan for IBA News.
In an attempt to help resolve the conflict between Culture Minister Miri Regev and many in the artistic community, President Reuven Rivlin hosted a gathering of the warring factions at his official residence in Jerusalem. The president said that he called the meeting to calm tensions and stressed that it is essential to find a point of agreement from which a spirit of mutual respect can be based. Cultural figures who attended the event underscored what they described as the supreme importance in the freedom of artistic expression. And while Regev reiterated her belief that freedom of expression is vitally important, she went on to say that the state has the right to decide on criteria for public financial support. The Ministerial Commission for Legislation voted down a Yesh Atid proposal to ban anyone committing crimes carrying moral turpitude from ever running for public office or holding an executive government position. Current law mandates a 7-year waiting period after a convicted felon has been released from prison before he or she can run for political office. Yesh Atid leader Yair Lapid denounced the failure of the measure to pass as moral bankruptcy, he said, comes from a government that refuses to fight corruption. Officials at the Ministry of Justice said that they were opposed to the proposed bill because it was too broad in both the times and types of crimes to which it would have been applied. An estimated 3,000 Christians and their supporters from across the country gathered at the Church of the Loaves and the Fishes on the Sea of Galilee to protest the apparent act of arson that burned part of the holy site last week. Many of the demonstrators carried the Vatican flag or those bearing crosses. A mass prayer was held with the participation of dozens of local priests. The Thursday fire damaged much of the church and destroyed many holy books. Graffiti found spray-painted in Hebrew at the site denounced the false worship of idols. The incident is only the latest in a series of acts of vandalism at Christian sites over the past few years. Those gathered for the protest called on the police and the government to do all in their power to apprehend the perpetrators and bring them to justice.
I have to say it's not for me to tell Israel as a state what to do. I'm a monk and my job is to pray and to work with people and to spread love.
But you are under attack.
Well, as a person who's under attack, what I would like from any state, including this one, is protection of the people who live here. And I know that the government and the police are doing their very best, and we encourage them to redouble their effort.
And in Charleston, South Carolina, hundreds of people attended services yesterday at the church where a white gunman murdered 9 black worshipers in cold blood while they were attending a Bible study last Wednesday. The congregation was bolstered by hundreds of additional mourners listening to the service from the street outside. Many of the mourners were visibly moved by the service.
I thought it was a good service, but you could tell there was a void. I could tell there was a void because the ministerial staff that was taken away from us on Wednesday night, they weren't on the pulpit. And I'm used to seeing these people on that pulpit every Sunday. And that's the void part.
I was so thankful that the service was so uplifting, and the word that the minister brought, it was the perfect what people needed today, letting us know that no matter what, God is still on that throne.
It made me feel like a lot of things that were going on in people's mind today, and the feeling of it is a lot of togetherness and hopefulness that, we will come together a little bit better than we have in the past.
I'm just so grateful that the community has poured out. I look at the flowers behind us and all of the love and pouring out from the governor and the mayor on down just kind of placated the congregation and gave us the faith, the fortitude, the knowledge, and the spirit to go on.
Pope Francis has denounced the world for failing to act when there was intelligence indicating that Jews and others were being transported to death camps in Europe during the Second World War. He also condemned the deaths of Christians in the gulags of Russia under the Stalin dictatorship, which followed the war. The Pope's harsh assessments were made during impromptu remarks during his visit to Turin in northern Italy, when he told a group of young people that he understands how they find it difficult to trust the world. He told them that the great powers had photographs of the railway routes to the concentration camps, such as Auschwitz, and questioned why they weren't bombed. Turning to Afghanistan, where Taliban forces today launched a brazen terror attack against the parliament while it was in session. At least 19 people were wounded when a suicide bomber detonated a car loaded with explosives outside the parliament gates in Kabul, while 6 Taliban gunmen took up positions nearby to target legislators fleeing the building. Government forces engaged in a gun battle for about 2 hours. Today's attack comes as a second district in as many days has been seized by the Taliban in the north. The radical Islamists brutally ruled Afghanistan from 1996 until 2001 and have grown increasingly more powerful since the reduction in U.S. airstrikes against them, in addition to the withdrawal of foreign forces at the end of last year. They are now pushing to take back territory, and their recent series of gains raises questions over the ability of the NATO-trained Afghan security forces to defend the country. Turning a sharp turn to sports, and the local basketball finals tip off tonight when upstarts Hapoel Eilat hosts Hapoel Jerusalem in Game 1 of the home and away aggregate showdown. The second leg will be in the capital on Thursday. This is the first year since 1995 that Maccabi Tel Aviv, which was upset by Eilat in a 5-game semifinal series, will not be in the finals. Neither Eilat nor Jerusalem has ever won the title, so whoever emerges victorious will forge a new place in history. Eilat has only succeeded in reaching one other final, and that was back in 1998. Jerusalem has made it to 6 finals, but all were losses to Maccabi Tel Aviv, and it last appeared in 1997. All the action can be seen live on Israel Television Channel 1 starting at 9 o'clock. The American football community in Israel hosted a group of 19 former NFL greats at Kraft Family Stadium in Jerusalem last night as part of a mission to Israel spearheaded by Jewish philanthropist and New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft and Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Ron Dermer, who conceived of the idea. The Hall of Fame football legends gathered on the field one by one to hear remarks from Kraft, Dermer, Pro Football Hall of Fame President David Baker, and AFI President Steve Leibowitz. They included Green Bay Packers fullback Jim Taylor, running back Curtis Martin of the Patriots and the Jets, Baltimore Colts wide receiver Raymond Berry, New England Patriots guard John Hanna, Denver running back Floyd Little, and one of the 3 Jewish players in the Hall of Fame, Ron Mix. More than 700 football fans and IFL teammates gathered around the players for autographs and photographs with their favorites and to learn about the importance of the relationship between football, Israel, and the United States. Dermer said that he came up with the idea to bring a little NFL to Israel and that Robert Kraft jumped on the opportunity.
As Israel's ambassador, for me, part of my job is to improve Israel's image in the United States. And we live in an age of celebrity where the ones people look up to, and actors and musicians and athletes. And I don't know that much about music, to be honest with you. Hollywood's not quite my thing, but I love sports. And these people are heroes in their community. They're kind of the modern day gladiators. And it was very important to me, and what I thought could be very effective for Israel, is to let them see the real Israel, let them learn the truth about Israel, not by reading about it in the press, no offense, not by watching it on television, but by coming here for a visit to see everything that Israel's about, to see the truth, and then to come back, to go back to their own communities as goodwill ambassadors. And I think after today, and after this trip this week, I'm not just going to be Israel's ambassador to Washington, but I'm going to have an ambassador in Buffalo, an ambassador in Pittsburgh, an ambassador in San Diego, and ambassadors who are very, very prominent in their communities and who can be a tremendous, I think, support for Israel in ensuring that this alliance remains very, very strong well into the future, and I hope it'll be the first of many trips.
I understand what it's doing for Israel in terms of Hasbara, spreading the word of what Israel's really like. But what's in it for them?
Well, I think for a lot of them, they get to have the trip of a lifetime for them. There are a few of them who are devout Christians. And I tell you, in coming over here, I flew with them on a plane over here, and I think 7 or 8 told me this was on their bucket list to come to Israel. You have no idea how many people would love to come, and we just basically enabled that to happen.
The amazing thing is that there still is a perception of unfavorable beliefs about the Jewish people, about unfavorable stereotypes. And I think once one comes to Israel and meets the people, in particular, meet the soldiers. I mean, we met a female fighter pilot, and she spoke about the honor that she had of being able to perform her duty to the state of Israel, and it almost left everybody in tears. It was so touching. It just captured so much, and I think she's the spirit of Israel.
I grew up watching football with my brothers, and a lot of these names, ring a bell, and it's just an amazing experience also as a player of the national team to be able to meet them. But more than that, the fact that they're coming to Israel and, seeing our country and seeing what it's about and the beautiful things to see here, especially the sports that we have. Flag football, tackle football, and I hope that we get a lot more opportunities like this to have more people come from this big sports to come see us and visit Israel.
Football has been something that I've been passionate about, and seeing the evolution of football here. Football is the ultimate team game. The survival of Israel and the development of Israel has been there over the last 68 years because of the sense of team. No other country is a team the way that all of you are and the way this country has developed. So the fact that you've all done that, and then we have the privilege of having these 19 gold jackets come here, the greatest players in the world, coming to honor all of you. We thank them. And then I have a Chalom Gadol. And my Chalom Gadol is that one of you sitting out there will go to the NFL and come back with a gold jacket.
Now, taking a look at local finance, and the shekel today put in a mixed performance in foreign currency trading, while share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange were up across the board. Here's a look at the afternoon numbers. The IBA weather team tells us we can expect a beautiful summer day tomorrow with clear skies and no significant change in temperatures. Here's the forecast at home and abroad over the next 24 hours. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow when Laura Cornfield will be here to bring you the latest breaking news from Israel. I'm Erin Viner, wishing you a wonderful evening and shalom from Jerusalem.